Holidays in Hell by P.J. O'Rourke. Introduction. I've been working as a foreign correspondent for the past few years. Although working isn't the right word, and foreign correspondent is too dignified a title. What I've really been is a troubled tourist, going to see insurrections, stupidities, political crises, civil disturbances and other human folly because it's fun. Like most people who don't own Bermuda shorts, I am bored by ordinary travel. See the beautiful Grand Canyon, okay, I see it, okay, it's beautiful, now what? And I have no use for vacation paradises. Take the little true love along to kick back and work on the relationship. She gets her tits sunburned, I wreck the rental car. We've got our teeth in each other's throats before you can say lost luggage. Nor do attractions attract me. If I had a chance to visit another planet, I wouldn't want to go to Six Flags over Mars or ride through the artificial ammonia lake in a silicone-bottomed boat at Venusian Cypress Gardens. I'd want to see the planet's principal features. What makes it tick? Well, the planet I've got a chance to visit is Earth. And Earth's principal features are chaos and war. I think I'd be a fool to spend years here and never have a look. I also became a foreign correspondent because I was tired of making bad jokes. I spent most of the 70s as an editor at the National Lampoon, and I spent the early 80s writing comedy scripts for movies and comic articles for magazines. All the while, the world outside seemed a much worse joke than anything I could conjure. The secret source of humour itself is not joy but sorrow, said Mark Twain. I wanted to get at that awful source of mirth and make very, very bad jokes. I thought maybe I could use the techniques of humour to report on real news events. Or at least I thought I could use that phrase to convince editors and publishers to pay my way to Lebanon, El Salvador, and so forth. Actually, I was just curious. I wanted to know where trouble came from and why the world was such a lousy place. I wasn't curious about natural disasters, earthquakes, mudslides, floods, and droughts. These are nothing but the losing side of the Grand Canyon coin toss. Okay, it's sad. Now what? I was curious about the trouble man causes himself and which he could presumably quit causing himself at the drop of a hat, or anyway, a gun. I wanted to know why life, which ought to be an only moderately miserable thing, is such a frightful, disgusting, horrid thing for so many people in so many places. Because I was curious and wanted a few facts, there are no important people in this book. No interviews with heads of state or major figures on the international scene. These people didn't get where they were by being dumb enough to tell reporters the truth. And although I admit to most faults, I don't have the network anchor creature self-conceit that lets some people believe Mikhail Gorbachev will suddenly take them aside and say, "Strictly between you and me, on Wednesday we invade Finland." This book is written from the worm's viewpoint, and the things I've asked my fellow blind, spineless members of the phylum Annelida are things like, "What's for dinner?" and "Please don't kill me." The stuff of mankind's real-life interviews. There are also no earnest messages in this book. Half the world's suffering is caused by earnest messages contained in grand theories bearing no relation to reality. Marxism and no-fault auto insurance, to name two. Earnestness is just stupidity sent to college. I'm not sure this book contains any serious content. No matter how serious the events I've witnessed, I've never noticed that being serious about them did anything to improve the fate of the people involved. Some writers, the young and the dim ones, think being near something important makes them important, so they should act and sound important, which will somehow make their audience important too. then as soon as everybody is filled with a significant sense of importance, something will be done. It's not the truth. 30 years of acting and sounding important about the Holocaust did nothing to prevent Cambodia. Furthermore, there are no answers in this book. Even simple questions do not, with logical necessity, lead to them. I can sum up everything I've learned about trouble in a few words, and I will. Civilization is an enormous improvement on the lack thereof. No reasonable person who has had a look at the East Bloc or an issue of the nation can countenance the barbarities of the left. And every Dorn Bull session anarchist should spend an hour in Beirut. So-called Western civilization, as practiced in half of Europe, some of Asia and a few parts of North America, is better than anything else available. Western civilization not only provides a bit of life, a pinch of liberty, and the occasional pursuance of happiness, it's also the only thing that's ever been tried. Our civilization is the first in history to show even the slightest concern for average, undistinguished, none-too-comfortable people like us. We are fools when we fail to defend civilization. The ancient Romans might as well have said, "Oh, the Germanic tribes have valid nationalistic and cultural aspirations. Let's pull the legions off the Rhine, submit our differences to a multilateral peace conference chaired by the Pathan Empire, and start a Vandal Studies program at the Academy in Athens." To extend civilization, even with guns, isn't the worst thing in the world. War will exist as long as there's a food chain. No amount of mushy essaying on the Boston Globe editorial page and no number of noisy, ill-kept women sitting in at Greenham Common will change this. Better that we study to conduct war as decently as possible and as little as necessary. The trouble in Lebanon, South Africa, Haiti, and the occupied territories of Palestine should simply be stopped by the military intervention of civilized nations. This won't stop trouble, of course. Trouble is fun. It will always be more fun to carry a gun around in the hills and sleep with ideology-addled college girls than to spend time behind a water buffalo or rotting in a slum. Finally, people are all exactly alike. There's no such thing as a race, and barely such a thing as an ethnic group. If we were dogs, we'd be the same breed. George Bush and an Australian Aborigine have fewer differences than a Hausa Apso and a toy fox terrier. A Japanese raised in Riyadh would be an Arab. A Zulu raised in New Rochelle would be an orthodontist. I wish I could say I found this out by spending Arctic nights on ice floes with Inuit elders and by sitting with tribal medicine men over fires made of human bones in Madagascar. But actually I found it out by sleeping around. People are all the same, though their circumstances differ terribly. Trouble doesn't come from slopes, kikes, niggers, spics, or white capitalist pigs. It comes from the heart.